Welcome to Inside Design with Kandrak and Cole, hosted by two nationally published Atlanta interior designers, Joanne Kandrak and Kelly Cole. These energetic women are also world travelers, charity givers, and bloggers with a wealth of information to share and stories to tell about the interior design world. Okay, now just a warning, this is going to be fun and not too serious. After all, they still do have an interior design business running at full speed.
Yeah, ladies, that's your cue.
Whoever writes the outline generally starts out.
God,
But if you want me to
funny.
start. If you want to start, I'll start.
You know what? I forgot I wrote the outline, but because Joanne...
Yeah, 3 years
wanted
in, right?
Rochelle
Whoa,
to
yeah,
know.
we've got it down perfectly. We don't even know where to start.
Are we ready now? Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining in. This is Inside Design with Kandrak and Cole. We are episode 114, and today we have a guest, Rochelle Porter. So, as you all know, we believe in the power of social media, and our guest today caught our eye on Instagram, and we were so enamored by her unique design sensibilities and her strong beliefs that we invited her to be on the show, and she said yes. So Rochelle Porter is the founder and creative director of Rochelle Porter Design. She's a lifelong lover of global design traditions. She's based here in Atlanta, so lucky for us, she's here with us today in our studio. She takes her cues from the breezy hues of her Caribbean roots, the stark simplicity of Scandinavian design, and the boldness of West African weaves to create vibrant, eye-catching textiles for athleisure, accessories, and home decor. And we're going to talk about all that. Her travel-inspired patterns feature joyful, unexpected bursts of color and classic motifs for a fresh, modern twist. So you can see why we love her.
So after learning of the unethical labor practices of today's fast fashion industry, Rochelle nearly abandoned her dream of becoming a designer. That is, until she discovered that style could also be sustainable. Combining her passion for patterns with her commitment to responsible manufacturing, she created Rochelle Porter Designs, a lifestyle brand specializing in thoughtfully made goods. Rochelle and her team believe that everyone along the value chain should have the chance to live well, from the farmer who picks the pesticide-free organic cotton for its textiles to the customer who puts them on her sofa. She's been seen on The Today Show, in Oprah Magazine, House Beautiful, West Elm, and many others, and we are excited to introduce you to her today.
But before we start chatting, we want to let you know that this episode of Inside Design is sponsored by Wexel Art. We met the owners of Wexel Art when they first started out 11 years ago. They caught our attention because they filled a need for our clients and a project that we had just been working on. They began on the premise that you should be able to change your art as often as you change your mind. So with 30 plus years of experience, they designed these floating wall frames that feature a single panel of acrylic plus magnets to hold the art in place. That unique collection put them on the map as the first ever frame to let you change out your kids' arts, family photos, or store signage in seconds. Since then, they have expanded to include double panel frames, which we use a lot here in our conference room and other projects, where you sandwich the pictures between the two pieces of acrylic, gorgeous tabletop and shadow boxes, as well as framed art. So check them out, wexelart.com.
Okay. Lucky for us, Rochelle lives in Atlanta, so we're thrilled to have her in the studio today on a very rainy, gross day with the remnants of itis. So much to talk about today. So, Rochelle, we love that you started in the corporate world like we both did and abandoned that gig to follow your creative passions. Tell us how this transpired.
Sure. Where to begin? It's a very long story with very many twists and turns, but I'll try to give you guys the Cliff Notes version. So I graduated from college in
A few
years ago.
Some years ago. And I did not know what I wanted to do. So I was an English and history double major, much to my family's chagrin, much to my very, West Indian immigrant family chagrin, who expected me to be a doctor, lawyer,
of course.
engineer.
Yeah.
That wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
But, I knew what I didn't want. I didn't know what I wanted. So, to date myself, I graduated right before the year 2000. And if you guys remember what was going on at the time, there was the Y2K scare, the millennial bug. So, everything was going to go to hell in a handbasket and the world was going to end.
Yes.
Unless, somebody changed these 2 digits in a computer program.
Oh my gosh.
And so the programming language was called COBOL.
Oh, yeah. We remember it.
Oh,
we both have
okay.
techie husbands.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we're old. So go ahead.
So, back then, like, COBOL was not the cool happening language. Like, everybody who was a COBOL programmer was either old or they were dead. So, so there were all these training programs to train, like up and coming liberal arts graduates on COBOL. So I was like, okay, cool. This is like a real opportunity to have a real job and not embarrass my family. So I got a job at what is, I won't name the company, but it was, Fortune 10 company in Manhattan. It was very, prestigious. So I had arrived. I had made it because I got a job there. Got the apartment in Brooklyn. I had all the suits, all the trappings of a young professional, and I hated it.
Of course you did.
Creatives can't.
Well, at the time, I didn't know if I identified as a creative, at least not in the way that I do now. I was maybe a writer, per se, but definitely not a designer or an artist. Like, that would have been way too presumptuous for me to even say. But so I, went to this corporate gig that I hated, but I had a lease now.
Yep.
I had rent to pay. I had bills. So it's like, okay, I can't quit. But I know I'm creative. So I know I need an outlet. So I tried a bunch of different things. On a whim, I took a class at FIT, Fashion Institute of Technology.
Yeah.
And I think it was like an intro to fashion design class, something really basic. And it was only 3 days over the course of 3 weeks. So I'm like, I like clothes. I love clothes, actually.
Yeah.
So let me try this. So went to the first class. It was fine. It was fun. This is cool. Went to the second class, and the instructor was like, okay, when you create your designs, you'll have to send them to China to get made. And so at the time, I'm like, China. So that's like child labor, human rights abuses, all these terrible things, which I know, of course, there are ethical factories in China now and all over the world, blah, blah, blah. But back then, that's where my mind automatically went. And I was like,
for me.
I'm done. I don't want to do this because I don't do this anyway. This is just something I'm trying out. And didn't go back to the third class. And that was kind of it. So ended up leaving that corporate job to work in a series of other corporate jobs that I was miserable at for the next maybe decade and a half.
Wow.
Yeah.
But did you get, like, Joanne and I talk about this a lot because we were both in corporate jobs before we started our business and turned to creatives. But I have to say, we talk about the business acumen that we learned and the sales skills and the customer service skills and the training that we got in those worlds have made us better entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Do you agree? Does that work for you?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would do anything differently. It took a long time to get to this point, but the training I got was better than anything I could have gotten in business school or anything.
This is why you want to tell people that are coming out of college or people in their first or second job, this is probably not going to be this is not what you're stuck with. But
absolutely
just,
not.
Like, go on the journey, take it for what it is. You will end up where you're supposed to be. Just
definitely
be patient. Yeah.
So what I think is so cool about you, and I think is so unique, is that you have this whole athleisure thing that you do, combined with design, combined with home decor. It's such a unique combination. Like, who else does that but you? So how did that even come about?
It wasn't planned. I'll say that.
All the best things do.
Well, let's go back because I don't know if we've told her. She's like a textile artist, designer kind of thing. So what was your big break, the West Elm thing?
Yes and no. So while
give us a timeline.
Sure. Okay. So I technically launched my website probably in 2015, but nothing was really happening. I was still at my last corporate job, which was more pleasant than the previous ones. But I knew when I started working there, I kind of knew, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to do this business. I want to do this artsy textile stuff, but I need to finance it. And the whole starving artist myth is a myth. It's very hard to be creative when you're broke and you're worrying about how to pay your bills. So I knew I needed some kind of cushion while I was developing this business.
Yeah.
So, did both at the same time for several years. Let's see. So my contract at my last job ended in December 31st, 2019. So
So a lot's happened since then.
Yes.
Oh my God, girl, you've done all this like
2 years.
Well,
it was growing.
It was growing
yeah.
over the course of 7 years.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
it takes 10 years to be an overnight success.
Of course.
So I'm not quite at the 10-year mark
Yeah,
yet.
yeah.
But I had actually started a relationship with West Elm back in 2015. I would do pop-up shops at their stores. So all I had back then was, I think I had 8 pillows in a collection with my prints on them. And I was like, hey, I heard y'all let people do pop-ups in your stores. So I went to the Ponce location and, they liked my stuff. They're like, sure, set up in the store on a random Saturday or Sunday. And, I went on to do that for, 5 years, maybe periodically. Yeah. And I did one in New York. So that was kind of the extent of our relationship. And then 2020 happened, which it's very weird to say that was a great year for my business because so many other awful things happened. But they have this thing called the 15% pledge. I don't know if you guys have heard of it.
Yep.
Because of you.
Well,
Yes.
Yes.
I try. I actually don't. But so as part of the 15% pledge, West Elm was one of the first companies to take the pledge. And it was just sort of a no-brainer because I already had a relationship with them. I knew the regional manager who used to be the general manager at the Pond City Market store. So I was like, hey. What's
So
up?
tell everybody what this 15.
Sure.
Yeah.
So the 15% pledge came about last year as a result of all the social unrest, the George Floyd killing, and everything that happened as a result of that. And, a lot of companies were asking, hey, what can we do to support Black-owned businesses? So a designer named Aurora James, she was like, here's one thing you can do. Since Black people make up roughly 15% of the population, we should be 15% of what's on your shelves in the stores. And a lot of companies have taken that challenge. I know West Elm was one of the first, Nordstrom, Madewell, just a ton of other companies have really stepped up to the plate and kind of put their money where their mouth is. And West Elm was one of the first. And that's
amazing.
How that relationship started.
That's amazing. Yeah. So how has your product line with them grown?
It's really... Currently, they're responsible for about half of our sales right now. So it's definitely been significant for our business. When we debut our upcoming collections, they will debut on westelm.com as well.
Nice.
So it's been a great relationship so far.
And when do you think that collection will debut? Or I'm sure you're all messed up with the supply chain and the mess of our industry right now.
Yeah. Well, currently... I try to produce as locally as possible. So it's not as much of a challenge. Once we start doing more overseas production, it will be. But look for something around the holidays.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. So wallpaper, is that coming?
Yes.
I know that's a
We're
goal.
big wallpaper fans.
Yes. So we have been trying to launch this wallpaper collection for the past couple of years. It just hasn't happened. It just kept getting derailed with other things, but it's going to happen. I'm declaring it now on your show. So I have to do it.
Woohoo! We're putting it out to the universe. It's happening.
Yes. So around the holidays, that's when we plan to debut that.
Okay. That's awesome.
Yay.
So let's go back. I know I skipped ahead because I was so excited, but talk about your athleisure because again, like I said, that's just a totally cool, unique thing for you.
Okay. So fun fact, even though I started with the home decor line, I don't necessarily have a particular affinity toward home stuff. I mean, I love everything printed. At the end of the day, I'm a print designer. So that means anything that can have a print on it, I'm going to put a print on it. And I had the line of pillows at first, so that was easy because it's a square. Remember, I'm not a real designer. I don't have a background or anything. I'm just somebody who liked to doodle and paint all my life. So I'm like, oh, I can put a design on a square and it can be sewn into a pillow and I can sell it. But clothes were always my first love. You know, I love not necessarily fashion or the fashion industry, but I love style. I love how people express themselves through fashion and the fact that you can know something about somebody without them saying a word as soon as they walk into a room. So, the athleisure was kind of, clothing was kind of the end game, but it happened sooner than I thought it would.
Okay.
A friend of mine had come to me because she knew I made stuff. And she was like, hey, I want to make a line of workout clothes with African prints on them. But she wanted to do like the traditional, like Ankara prints that already exist. And I was like, okay, cool. Do you have like a pattern maker? Do you have the license to use the print? Do you have this, that? And she was like, huh? And I was like, yeah, we need to work on it. And she's like, well, can you help me? And I was like, sure. Where do you want to start? So, we knew if we used my original prints, we wouldn't have to license anything. Yep. And just kind of on a whim, I made some mock-ups with some prints I had had for years. And I was like, oh, this looks pretty good. Kind of good. And I showed it to other people. They were like, I would buy that. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to sell it. And that's really how it started.
So where do you sell it?
It's currently on my website, RochellePorter.com. Okay. We will probably next year get into more retailers, but right now everything's
feels so good to be able to. I mean, her Instagram is really, really good, and there's always models, and there's like younger, like small. Is there like younger people wearing these?
Yeah, kids? It really runs the gamut. So we do have a mommy and me line. So we have matching leggings for the little kids and the youth. And we also, it really spans all age brackets.
It must be so cool to see your designs on something like that.
It's really cool.
I'm curious, how have you dealt with the patterning? Because I know, for example, when I was younger, I always wore Lululemon. Now Athleta fits my body better, and there's some other brands that I like the way they fit, that the way the material is. So how do you experiment with all that, or how do you get the patterning down?
So we currently only have kind of one pattern that we use. I mean, we have capri length and we have plus size, but they're all pretty much the same high-waisted pattern, and it's miraculous how they look good on every body type. Nice. It's so crazy. I think because the material is so soft and stretchy and comfortable.
Of course, we know they're not made in China.
They are not.
Are they made here in Atlanta or?
They are made, I think the company is based in Mexico, but they're distributed through California.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a really big deal.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. So there's other things coming up. You're working on some stuff with Home Goods and HomeSense?
Yes.
Hopefully.
We are.
Do we have to put that out in the universe?
This is the official announcement.
Was I allowed to say that?
Yes, you
okay.
were. So actually in September, our pillows are going to be in select Home Goods and HomeSense stores. I don't know which stores yet. Yeah. They haven't told me that yet, but we're going to have a small collection.
So will the tag have your name on it?
It'll be the real deal.
I mean, how do you break into something like that? Like, how did that happen? That's big.
I think we had a lot of press last year, which was really great. Yeah. And I think your name is out in the atmosphere.
Did they reach out to you or you reach out to them?
They reached out to me in the case of HomeSense. So,
wow. Well, I have to tell everybody kind of the story. So it was 3 or 4 months ago. Friday night is usually my night to read my magazines in bed. I kind of save them all week. And so I'm flipping through Southern Living. And it was very early on in the pages. And I saw this beautiful woman. I saw these beautiful fabrics. And I start reading the story. And it's Rochelle talking about what we've just said here. And I was like, oh my God, this girl is very cool. I'm going to check. So I check her out on Instagram. Looked great. I'm like, I'm going to send her a message, ask her if she'd be on the podcast. So there's certain people you just meet and I immediately go, oh my God, that person needs to be on our podcast.
Yeah.
So I sent her an Instagram message and she responded and said, yes, she would be on the show.
Yeah.
And then she said, yes, she'd love to come to our studio and whatever. So this is the first time we've met her, but she's absolutely lovely. And I just think it's such a great story because there's so many women that are in your shoes. They're working corporate jobs. They're afraid to let go. They end up doing both the same. There's so many designers that have been that. They worked in corporate jobs, but they needed to somehow break in. And so they kill themselves. They work during the day and then they work on this passion at night. And then like the whole thing with the athletic wear, that just came, like, I think if you're doing what you love and you just keep doing it, things will come to you. Like Kelly and I with the podcast, we never intended to ever have a podcast, but someone,
it was a very organic beginning.
And I think that's what happens. I think if you have an idea in your mind of something you want to do, go do it. But then it's going to go in directions that you don't even know and be so great. So you can't really always plan it. So just
you can't
do it.
I mean, 10 years ago, I could never have imagined that I'd be doing this.
Yeah, that's right. So
and that I'd be sitting here talking to you guys.
I know.
Yeah.
So
well,
exciting.
I think we talk a lot about that on the show, of just about, coming into your own, and how in talking to our guests and talking about these kind of things, how it is so obvious that there's never really, honestly, like this set big plan. You didn't have this, super official business plan that you then carried out, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
It was very organic. You jumped in, you took lots of leaps of faith. I mean, your friend approached you, you're like, well, I don't know how to do that, but we're going to figure it out. And I have a love of fashion. And
the other thing too is like that imposter syndrome. I think you just said you didn't really think you were an artist because you didn't say. There's so many artists that don't have an art degree. You don't have to be, I don't have an interior design degree. Like there's certain things that are just innate with you. So don't let that, stop you because you feel like you can't, compete with these other people who may have this education. It's not always about
Absolutely. And nobody knows what they're doing.
nobody does.
Fun fact.
It's so funny that you say that, because when Joanne and I first started, we worked at a design showroom, and she was doing all the purchasing and merchandising, and I worked with the fabrics. And I was new. This is my launch of my second career, and all these designers would come in and they asked me for help. And so I thought that was hilarious, because I'm like this newbie, but I mean, I'm pretty savvy. I can figure it out. But I'm going, I am putting these damn designs together for these designers, and they're going to go and sell them to their clients. And all of a sudden I wasn't afraid anymore. I'm like, you all don't know what you're doing either, so
Exactly.
I'm just going to keep on moving on, and it worked out.
Yep.
Yeah.
The other lesson that I love is, so my daughter is about to go back to school and kind of like start over. And I've been telling her, and she wants to quit her job. Like, she can't handle like both. And I'm like, honey, you have a rent, like you said, and you've got bills to pay, like you mentioned. And this, you're studying and you're getting into school needs to be your side gig for a little bit. So go to work, earn the money. Okay. And I know you're going to be tired when you come home at the end of the day and you're brain dead, but you got to manage the two for a little bit of time until you get to where you want to be. Just dig in.
I mean, sacrifice is such a huge part of it. Nothing
Absolutely.
anybody who's ever successful, it has not come easy. It doesn't just happen. You have to work your ass off for
I
it.
tell my girls that all the time, because they're millennials, and they think that things should come a little bit easier than they're gonna come.
Right. And it doesn't end, like, once you get where you want to be, you still have to work.
Yes.
there. So might as well build that character and that work ethic
and
now.
enjoy the journey. That's just it. Enjoy the journey. You want to get from point A to point B, but once you get to point B, you don't stop living. So, but everything that took you to B, like, try to enjoy it and look back on it as a great experience versus just wanting to do just that.
Joanne and I are 16 years into our business. We just celebrated our 16th anniversary this month of August, and
congratulations.
we were literally driving to a client's. No, we were driving to or from, and we looked at each other, and I said to her, "We are rock stars." The amount of work that we do, like, every morning. And I've realized this more during COVID, because my husband, who works for Apple, has stayed home this whole time. And every morning I get up and he goes, "What are you going on today?" And I'm like, well, we got an appointment with this, and then we have a conference call, and then we got a podcast, and then we're going to stop it here. And then we have a new, we've been asked to be, curate a design for an art studio and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, And I'm like, that's just today. And I never really like.
I remember that day because, like, if you look at our calendar, there's so many things on there. We're just kind of like, on autopilot and we just do it. But when you look back, I think, oh my God, what we're doing is insane.
Yeah.
But, and I said to Kelly, and this is totally honest and true. I have never woken up in the last 16 years and said, I just don't feel like doing this today. I'm just not into it. I mean, I am just excited every single day, which is how lucky we are, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say today on this icky day, I did want to stay home and work in my pajamas, but I did want to work. I just didn't want to get up and take a shower. But, but it's like I tell my girls, I'm your mom. I'm 53 years old and I am still working my hiney off. So don't tell me you're tired.
Right.
You're 25. Don't tell me you're tired. I don't want to hear it. So anyway, so how can people find you and buy your cool stuff and...
Sure. So you can find me at RochellePorter.com. That's our main hub where everything is. You can also find our decor on WestElm.com. Just go to the site and search our name in the little search box. And of course, Instagram, I'm Ro Porter Design on Instagram.
That's amazing. That's really good. So it's quote time. But before we do that, Rochelle has an offer for everybody.
Yeah, so I'm excited to offer your listeners a discount code of 15% on anything on RochellePorter.com. They can just enter Kandrak Cole 15 at checkout and save 15% on anything site-wide.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Great stuff. Check it out, everybody.
All right, well, hold on for us, everybody, because we do our quotes. So I'll do the funny one. Okay, ready? When you ask, how are you looking for the typical good or complete honesty? Because the difference between them is 37 minutes. And that is the damn truth.
It is so true. I remember somebody saying, if someone asks how you are, you don't need to give them the whole honest answer if it's not really. Nobody really wants to know.
Although I've often thought about giving them a full honest answer just to freak them out. Well, thanks for asking, but
Okay, the series quote comes from Vincent van Gogh. Normality is a paved road. It's comfortable to walk, but no flowers grow on it. Love that.
Appropriate for today.
So good.
And oh, by the way, the Van Gogh Immersion show, have you been to it?
Not yet.
Yeah.
It's still going on. I don't know how long it's going on for. It's a pretty massive setup here in Atlanta, and I know it's around the whole country, but
it's really
it still is going on.
Really,
and even if you're not a creative or not, if you just want to be inspired, because I don't really particularly love Van Gogh's work per se, but
you look at it in a whole different way now.
You do.
Sure.
It's amazing. So, well, Rochelle, thanks for joining us today. You're just so inspiring, and we really enjoyed that you came out on a rainy day to be with us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's fun.
So we want to thank Wexel Art for being our sponsor today. And if you guys are listening and you would like to share with friends, rate and review us, we would really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Okay, have a great day. Bye.
Join Joanne and Kelly weekly for a lively conversation about trends, travels to industry events, current design projects, the good, the bad, and the ugly, do's and don'ts, product recommendations, and more. Be sure to follow the fun on Facebook. They're on Instagram at Kandrak Cole, and of course, you've got to visit them online at kandrak-cole.com for more information.